Hello again, I am Jim Bob and welcome back to Lone Oak Farm. We're into the final transition of spring, day 5, and our grass has grown, so we are ready to do some mowing today. And I'm going to be getting some hay made because we are starting to run a little bit low on our stocks. So let's get positioned. Let's put our baseline in along here. Try and keep a nice, straight, smooth line if I can. As far as there. There we go. There comes the tricky bit. I need to turn these off actually so I don't accidentally catch somewhere else. Always like to try and maximise this area, even though some of this isn't actually part of the field. So you can see here, the right mower is just catching the very edge of the workable land just there. But all of this, there's no reason why we can't use it. So let's drop the blades about there. There we go, so we've got our border in place for that edge. Now I need to kind of do my borders at the bottom there. I'm going to need to be very careful again because of the telegraph poles. I'll need to do borders on all sides of the fields to prevent the risk of going into other fields and damaging the crops. As you can see, we have had some more growth on everything, not just the grass. So our canola is now into its final sort of growth stages. As you can see, we're getting some nice yellow flowers on the plants there. We are going to be ready to do another round of spraying, and we'll do that a little bit later on today, but I want to get the mowing out of the way first of all. That's the reason, as you can see, why I've also used twin wheels on my Optum here, so I don't damage the plants or the grass while I'm driving over it. Obviously when a worker's going, it won't cause any damage, but when we're driving around manually we will flatten the grass out. So by having these twin skinny wheels here, it means we can drive around to our heart's content manually and not damage our grass in any way. Always a good thing. Just gives me that extra little bit of protection just in case I do accidentally wander into one of the neighbouring fields, like our canola for example, or our barley down on field 30/35. And we're going to be tedding this as soon as we're getting it cut effectively. So once I've got this up and running and started, I'll be grabbing the Puma and breaking out the windrower, not the windrower, sorry, the tedder. And we'll be tedding all of this into hay, and then we'll merge it all up with our coon merger, and then we'll start baling it up. And we'll probably sell off some of the hay bales, but we'll certainly keep a load in stock. I'm going to refill our supply here at the cow shed, and we're going to take a load over to the sheep as well. I'm still not sure what I want to do with the rest of my bales for the rest of this year. We're going to make a lot of bales. If I want to do silage bales, then I've kind of really got to start doing silage bales now, while I've got capacity for them. Because if we start doing all our hay work now and then go to silage bales later, we're just not going to have any bales left in our bale limit, or not many. So we're going to be constantly sort of wrapping and then having to go and sell a load of bales and then wrapping a load more bales and selling those bales, and it just means that the grass is going to take Yeah, it's going to start rotting by the time we actually get to it, to wrap it. It's going to be quite an inefficient process. So I don't think we're going to do silage bales. So I'm probably going to sell off the bale wrapper, because we're just not really going to need it anymore, I don't think. I can't see any reason why we should need it. We've got plenty of silage still here at the farm, so we'll probably need to make another batch towards the end of the summer. I think that's probably when we'll start running out. But beyond that, I don't think we're going to need to make another batch of silage for our cows. Beyond that, we're going to do a little bit of silage at the BGA with corn chaffing, but we're certainly not going to do, you know, chaffing on the scale that we did last year, because we just don't need to. You know, we don't need, you know, that huge injection of cash. We've already got a very healthy bank balance as it is. Look at that, $400,000 effectively, give or take a few $1,000. So financially we're in an incredibly strong position. We just don't need to spend a long time making a massive bunker full of silage at the BGA. We're not going to be doing any digestate work again, and we've sold off our equipment. So that's another reason why we don't really need to do any more big BGA runs. I think it would be counterproductive, I think, if we were to make another massive pile of silage. It's just time that we could spend doing other things. So instead we're going to be all about just kind of doing what we need to do, but not overdoing it this year. Taking a little bit easier. We had to work way harder than would have been preferred last year, just to make sure that we could actually keep our heads afloat financially. We don't have those burdens this year, so we can afford to be a little bit more relaxed in our farming approach, which is the way I think it should be. Once you've established yourself, you don't have to work quite so hard. There we go. So the mower is up and running. While he is going around mowing all that section there for us, we're going to go jump into the Puma, get the windrow up, and we'll start, not the windrow, sorry, the tedder. We'll start tedding off this border, and then we'll start tedding the rest of the grass as soon as it's done. So let's jump in. We'll have to strip off the weight off the back and possibly the front loader as well. I mean, there's nothing attached to the front loader. We suppose we could leave that on there. Yeah, I'll leave that on there, because we'll need it again. We always do. Let's just remove the weight. Corona tedder. I did toy with the idea of maybe getting a different tedder this year, but again, it doesn't really seem like it's a necessary purchase. It would be just something just to maybe change the roster line of equipment, but this has worked really well for us so far. I don't see any real need for us, or reason for us to change it, so we'll stick with this again this year. Get that lowered down. There we go. Border nicely tedded. We'll do the same on this side as well. May as well get the whole border done. And just speed up our operation a little bit. And also, you know, the quicker we get this tedded, the quicker it stops rotting. I mean, it shouldn't really rot at all if we get it this quickly. But of course, if we were to just leave this out like this, then eventually these windrows would start to dissipate a little bit, get smaller and smaller. So by tedding it, it immediately sort of reverts it to hay, and or converts it to hay, as I should say, and stops the rotting process. So we don't have to worry about getting it done ridiculously quickly. We can take our time, we can be methodical. Make sure that everything is done in the nice, easy to work sequence. We're drifting a little bit, let's just correct. Always find that, I drift ever so slightly whenever I try and do scenic stuff like that. Try and get a nice angled shot. You can't see exactly where your wheels are until it's too late. So yeah, plan of action for today is just to do some hay work like this, and we'll also be doing some more spraying. We've got plenty of fields that do need to be sprayed. I don't know if the corn started growing actually. We were going to check, weren't we? I don't think the corn will have grown. Ground temperature is now 11 degrees, so in theory it should have grown, but we'll need to check. I think we planted corn on what was it, 32/33 and 34. There are cornfields this time around. So we'll have to double check those fields, but I don't think there's any growth on those yet. It'll be the same with fields 5 and 6. We planted corn on there for some chaffing, but again, I doubt we'll have actually seen any growth on those fields yet, because the temperatures yesterday were only, 8 degrees yesterday, wasn't it? I think. It certainly wasn't warm enough. The sunflowers have started growing. We have got some growth, as you can see just there, on our two fields over there. 48 and 51. They are now in their first stage of growth, which is great to see. But it does look as though, I think, the corn hasn't started yet. So that really is, as I say, going to stagger all of our crops. We've got wheat, barley, canola is the first that's going to grow. Then our wheat and our barley and our soybeans, our sugar beets. Then our sunflowers, and then our corn. They're all going to come in those little groups like that, in different stages. So each set of those crops will have a 2-day window to get each of those groups done independently of each other, which will really help. Towards the end of the season, we're not going to end up with too many crops all waiting to be harvested at the same time. We'll be able to have got a big chunk of those out of the way to start with, and we don't have to worry about the beets either. The beets, as I said, they're an all-weather crop, so we can harvest those in the rain. We don't have to wait for them to, wait for dry weather like this. We don't have to wait for the crops to dry out if it has been raining. We can harvest beets at any time, in any weather conditions, pretty much. So, yes, I forgot, of course. There are always little chunks like that. Let's turn that off for a second. Let's just take a quick drive. Yeah, look, there's our corn there. So, yeah, the corn hasn't started growing. So that's going to be day 1 of summer before we see the first bit of growth on our corn. That's definitely going to be the last of our crops to come in. But these patches of grass, these are because of the telegraph poles. We will need to address that. So we'll wait for the Optum to come down. We'll clean that little bit up. And then we can start the worker running around with our tedder to ted what the mower has already cut, and while that's doing that, we can jump into our sprayer and we can start spraying off some of these fields. Okay, so let's see, what field shall we spray first of all? Let's have a look. So this is the current state of our fields here. These are still waiting for growth, and I'd like to get to stage 1 before we start spraying. Same with these two, although that does put them a stage behind. That's okay, we can get away with that. We could get our canola fields out of the way. I think that might be the best thing to do. Let's get the canola fields finished off. Seeing as they are the ones that are going to be growing in first, and they are now into their final stages, let's start with the canola. So that's fields 50 and 51. No, 49 and 50. A little bit of a brain fart there. There you can see our mowers and our tedder working away quite nicely on that field. Once the tedding is complete, then we'll come back and we'll start baling. I like to try and get the sprayers in a position where they can do their thing, and we can just kind of leave them to it for a bit. And I know where we went wrong with our spraying last time out. It's because the angle that we chose to attack the field. So this time we're going to spray it in a different way. So we're going to do this edge, then the far edge, then that edge, then we'll come back to do this side, and then we can do the manual bit going back that way, and we'll be fine that way. Once we've done that, we can keep an eye on the worker, and then we can leave him for a moment and he'll spray the rest of this field fine. Now the reason he screwed up last time is because we weren't supervising when he got to the tree on that second pass on that left hand side there, and so his booms got a bit too close and he panicked and he went onto the wrong field. If we're in control at that point, then we won't have to worry about him straying off the field, and then this border will already be done, so we won't have to worry about him straying onto that field there or that field there. So we can control his spraying and make sure that he stays on this field. That's what we should have done last time, and we kind of approached it in slightly the wrong way, and that's why we ended up with our worker getting a bit confused and then getting fired. So we will be making sure that that doesn't happen again this time around. Get positions. Of course, this is the hardest bit, is trying to see where, there we go, where needs to be sprayed when the crop is this dense. It's so thick you can just hardly see through it at all. It's almost impossible to tell where has been sprayed and where hasn't. And there we go, he's up and running, spraying away quite nicely. So we'll get the rest of this border done, do the bit around the tree where we need to supervise, and then we'll turn him loose and check in on our mowers. So the mowing is just about complete. Our tiller is still working away over there, as you can see, and our sprayer, just see him, oh well, he did for a second, is just over the other side of the hill. Might see him turning very faintly in the distance there. There he is, right on the edge of the draw distance there. He is working that field nicely for us, so he'll get that field finished. We're going to go and drop these off back in their little shed, collect our merger and start rowing up this hay here. Then we'll be ready for baling. And as I say, we're going to sell some of the bales, the rest we'll keep, and we'll make sure that we stick another batch down at the sheep farm. We've only got 10 bales left, and their numbers are continuing to rise. You know, for the next couple of days, it's still the end of lambing season. Let's see how many we're up to. Let's pull up our animal information. So we're up to 144, and the reproduction rate now down to just 5 hours and 17 minutes. So we'll definitely, I think, be on 150 by the end of the spring, and then they'll stop breeding, but they'll continue making wool through to the end of summer. So that'll be good. Our cows, as you can see, their health is improving. We're still a couple of days away from calving season. That'll start in summer. So their numbers haven't changed and won't change for another couple of days yet. Not sure what the reproduction rate's going to be, but should be a decent rate. Shouldn't have to wait too long. We should definitely pick up an extra few cows over the summer. Right, let's get the merger. go. And so once again, to make our job a little bit easier, we're going to be doing the borders first. Get those rowed up. And then once the borders are done, then we'll be able to row up everything else in between. Oh, that's working the wrong way. So I need to... yeah, it's going the wrong way, so... I remember how to change the belts. I've got to raise the belts to do that. That's centre. That should be left. Yes, there we go. There we go. We'll do the same when we get to the top. We'll do a border along the top as well. Slightly sticking out a bit over the edge of the field here, as you can see. It was mainly just that little clump, but we'll tidy up just here anyway. These little offcuts, we'll throw them into that first row. Let's see, can we see the sprayer? No, he's off in the distance somewhere. Somewhere on that field. Let's see if we can find him on the mini-map. Okay, so he's about halfway through. Halfway down and about 2/3 of the way across. So we might just see him pop in a second. No, he's too far away. Okay, so we'll carry on rowing up. Why are we missing a patch? That's a bit weird. Missing a thin strip on the end there. Maybe it's a height thing. It might be a height thing because of the edge of the field. I bet that's what it is. So I might come back and collect that later. I don't know. Let's get the rest of this bordering work done, and then we can unleash this up and down the field. And then we can start the baling. First canola field is now finished. That's completely sprayed, and now at stage 3. So now we have the slightly harder task of doing the second field, field 50. Now this is harder because we're going to have to do quite a few chunks of this manually, especially when we get around those islands. And of course we can't really see where we're spraying like this, so we are going to have to be constantly sort of double checking against the mini-map. I say the mini-map, the main map on the pause screen, just so we can see what has been sprayed and what hasn't. This is going to be a lot tougher to get done. Going to need to do a quick top up here. As you can see, we're pretty much out of spray now. So we've done 3/4 of the border of this field, just this top edge that needs to be done. Well, it doesn't really need to be done, I suppose. But I'm going to stay more hands-on with this field. I'm going to be watching and tracking progress and doing manual sections when the worker goes, nope, don't want to go any further. So even though the mowing is done and the tedding is now done as well, I am going to be holding off a little bit longer. You can see our windrower, our merger there, rowing up our hay quite neatly for us. The baler is set and parked just behind the farmhouse, ready to go. But as I say, we need to stay hands-on. And you can see here we've got this weird patchy thing. I came down here and I did a border, and I thought I'll save a bit of time, I'll do this border here. And I thought I'd be clever, but there was a little bit of grass poking out, and of course all that then got dumped in a big pile at the end there once we got clear of the grass. So my little bit of being clever and saving some time has just made a huge great big pile of hay at the corner of the field. So not really worked out the way I'd hoped. Still, as I say, we'll get this refilled. I'll be doing all of field 50 before we start doing the baling. So even though the baler is set and ready to go, because I need to pay attention to what's going on with the sprayer, that'll be done first, and then once that field is finished, we'll unleash the sprayer on some other random field, and he can do that in the background while I'm doing the baling. So as you can see, I'm trying to check what I've done around this section here against what needs to be done. It's a little tricky, especially because these maps aren't always 100% accurate with coverage, but it looks as though we've done pretty much everything around this area. So now go around the other islands, and we're potentially going to waste a little bit of spray by double spraying certain parts of the field. It can't really be helped. It is so hard to see with canola. It's such a dense crop when it starts flowering like this, and it makes it almost impossible to see what it is that you're actually doing. That, you know, double spraying is, you know, inevitable. It's all about trying to minimize how much you're doing. You can just about see that dark patch in front of us there to kind of indicate where we've already been. So if we take a look, yeah, there we go. So we've got a couple of tiny little thin spots. I can live with that. That's, yeah, the bulk of the important stuff is done. So now I need to try and get this lined up where it's supposed to be. This is where it's going to get tricky. So try and avoid catching myself on one of those trees there. Okay, so we're way too far across. So easy to get lost and turned around when you're doing this. You see, now we're too far across again. I'm looking for that dark patch. I think I can just see it to the side. I think that is probably about right. Let's take a look. Let's go back a touch more. If I start spraying here, hire a worker. We're slightly overlapped, but only just. I mean, that should be just inside that line there at the top of the hexagon. So we're only slightly overlapping, and that's fine. I can live with that. So I can keep an eye on this guy, but he should be good now for most of the rest of this field, and then we'll just have to come back and probably do the top bit. So I'm going to make a start on the baling. So once again, we've reached the point where the AI has done as much as you can, and it's threatening to go the wrong way and start doubling back onto a field that I don't want it to spray yet. So I managed to catch him in time this time. So we need to sort of do this patch down here. So I'm going to go across the top and then come back down this way. And that should clear out all of that section there. And then we need to do this section. And again, I think a couple of passes, and we should be able to get all of that done. So just need to get the worker triggered. We should be far enough across. There we go. So the worker is triggered. Is that going to be enough with 2 passes? Go straight up. Yeah, that's pretty much going to be 2 passes, look. I think we can just about get away with that. Might have a tiny little spot just around here that needs to be done, but if that's the case, so be it. And then once we get back down to here, then again, maybe 2 passes will get all of that done. So we'll try and find our point over here. We'll start there, we'll come this way, and go back down that way, and hopefully we'll be able to get everything done nice and quickly. Then we can turn our attention back to the baling. See, this is where I've got up to. Our merger is just finishing off this section over here, so I've already made quite a big number of bales. How many have we made already? 46 already out of the 1127 we've made on our farm so far. So we're looking pretty good. I'm spraying this last little patch manually because I know the worker's not going to like it, and I'm just trying to see where the darkness finishes, and I think just got a little light patch just here on the edge. That should cover it. Let's have a look. Have I done? Pretty much spot on. So there we go. We have finished spraying this field here. So we may as well do the beets next, I suppose. Seeing as we're down here, I've got 1,500 litres of spray left. That's not too bad. So let's do our border along the bottom here. And then we can just send him off that way. And that'll put those at stage 3 as well. So our beets will be taken care of. These are still really small plants at the moment. These are a stage behind, so these are at what, stage 2 growth now? There we go. So once this border's in place, we'll unleash the worker along that far edge, and then he'll just run across to that there until he runs out of spray. When that happens, we'll obviously top him up and send him away on the other field. It looks like our merger has just finished work. Excellent stuff. So we can check, make sure all that's nice and tidy, and then get back to baling. Okay, so we've just hit the bale limit. So we're going to have to sell off a few of these bales. There we go, let's just pull this forward a little bit more. Yeah. So, we'll need the Magnum and the trailer, and we'll go and sell these bales off. I think we've got enough here to keep us going for a little bit longer at the sheep farm and here at the main farm. Loaded up with our first load of hay bales here, 24 per trailer. I wonder how much we'll actually get for these. Let's get our beacons on as we approach the road. A little bit of traffic in both directions. I could try and rush out in front of that car, but it's just not worth the risk. And again, those, by the time we've got in position and turned, there's a risk that we might get slammed into, so we just have to be a little bit patient. There we go. Need to be really careful with our cornering speeds as well. We're only 3 high, but there is every risk that we could completely tip ourselves over with this, so really got to be careful through the corners. These shallow corners not so bad, but our final turns have to be taken nice and slow because they do get quite tight. Oops, we're still indicating. Let's turn those off. Such a lovely kind of scenic little route through those trees there. I do love driving through there. Looks like our worker has finished spraying on the beet field. I did have to go and refill him, so we'll be able to just transition him over to the next field when we get back, and then we'll carry on selling off the bales that we have. Remove the straps. There we go. Ooh, 533 per bale. That's not a bad price, actually. That's pretty high. Do we actually get predicted prices for the hay bales that work in here? Let's have a look. Ah, yeah, see, spring bales are actually reasonably good. Winter bales obviously are the highest. But spring's a pretty strong price. I mean, I haven't sold in spring before. I've normally sell in the summer. So, yeah, I think we might sell all of those bales and then just do another cut. Just raise the cash that way. Might as well take advantage of a decent price like that. So we'll sell off everything that we make today rather than keeping some. We've got enough to last us to the next cut. And hell, we've still got field 24 that we can cut today as well if we wanted to. So, or tomorrow. So we might just do another cut tomorrow, and then it's not very far to transfer those bales to the actual barn for the sheep. So that might be a better option. We'll sell everything today, and then we'll do perhaps a bit more mowing tomorrow and stock up our sheep then. Okay, so we gathered up all the bales that we've made so far, sold off all the rest of them at 533 per bale. A nice price. And now we're ready to clear off the rest of this stage. Our fertilising is going quite well. You can see our sprayer has just finished as well on the end of field 53. So once I've finished baling this field, which shouldn't take too long, I'll get him set off on another field. I'm not quite sure which one I want to do next. I think I might possibly get him to start fertilising our sunflowers. So fields 51 and 48. Yeah, we'll see. Let's get the rest of these bales made though. Spitting them out at a nice fast rate, as you can see. Finish loading the trailer, and then all of these are going to get sold off today as well, and then whatever we cut tomorrow, that's what we'll use to feed the sheep. That is one big messy pile of hay there. We're going to attack this line along the bottom, then attack the pile. And then we'll do that final upward pass. I think that's going to be the easiest way for us to do this. That pile is going to be a real pain to bale. It's going to be awkward. We'll get it done. I don't have any doubts about that. It's just, that's a big chunk there. It's going to take multiple passes, and it's going to spit out bales really fast, I think, in that section as well. Try and do this in stages, I think. Let's try and do it in sections like that. Let's clear those bales off. There is that thin line on the edge there, but I'm not too worried about that. We'll probably just clear that off with the weeder. That's something else we can get done today, is weed this field again. There we go. Actually, that was a lot easier than I thought. I thought that would be a lot more problematic than that. So, the lights on, let's turn those off again. So just this upward pass here, and what I'll do is, as I'm collecting up the last few bales, I'll get the Optim out and he can start weeding this field for us while we are collecting the rest of these to take to sell at the barn. I'll also get the sprayer up and running. I might do that first. Time is slowly ticking away. You can see it's 4:15. Still got good weather for the rest of the day. Got good weather forecast for tomorrow. So no time pressure involved in getting these bales off the field. If it takes us several hours to get it all finished, then it takes us several more hours. It shouldn't do. But you know, we have that luxury of not worrying about bad weather. And there we go. So let's drop that bale. Fold the baler up. I am toying with the idea of maybe getting a different baler for tomorrow as well. I don't know. I mean, this Chrono baler is nice, but it's you know, it's getting on. We've used it a lot this year. I mean, look how many hours we put on our Puma as well. 65.9 hours. So 66 hours, effectively, It's a lot of hours that we put on this thing. It's served us very, very well, very faithfully over the past couple of years. There we go, weeder hooked up. This will take care of any of those last little bits that are sticking out around that we didn't collect as well. Be it grass or hay, it'll eliminate those for us. Trying to get as close to these poles as we can. Stay close to the edge as well, just so as I say, any bits that we missed, we can just wipe out with the weeder. I remember the first time I used a weeder and I wasn't really sure. I didn't realise that it would actually wipe out grass. This is obviously way back when FS17 first came out, and I didn't realise that it would wipe out any grass or hay or whatever that you had on the field. So I cut and rode a whole load of grass up, and then I ran a weeder to start fertilising, and looked in horror as it just wiped out half my field. As I realised too late, I just hired a worker and left him. Had no idea that it just wiped out half of the rows that I'd made on the field. These huge, great big fat windrows of grass. And it wiped half of them out before I caught on what was going on and stopped the worker. I was not happy. Never made that mistake since. This is the final load of bales, and it looks as though we're going to fill the trailer exactly. Look at that, that's fantastic. There's our weeder, still busy running up and down the field. We need to be careful not to roll this thing. There we go. So let's go sell the last load of these bales. The sprayer has done most of field 51. There's a little bit of tidying up that we need to do on that field, and there's just a tiny little bit of overlap onto field 48, which is the next field that needs to be sprayed. And that'll be the last one that we spray today. Field 48, that's the second of our 2 sunflower fields. And then we'll get the rest of the field sprayed again tomorrow. So our 2 wheat fields, and our barley field over there, and we'll wait for our corn to grow before we start spraying our corn. But all the important stuff that we needed to get up to stage 3 is now at stage 3. You know, essentially our canola harvest is good. Even that slow speed there, up on 2 wheels, 3 wheels, I suppose. Some really bad and bad camber rolls on these dirt paths. It's really easy to roll it if you go just a little bit too fast around those corners. Let's just see that huge field there, just all that canola just stretching all the way across there. It's a glorious sight. And I must admit, I was very tempted to buy this field here and then link the 2 together, link that in with field 50. But I figured 50 is big enough. I don't think we really need to go that far. And it's too late now. Maybe if we were doing a 4th year, then we would do that, but we're not, so never mind. We're getting closer and closer to our soybean date as well. We're on, day 5 now, so we're looking at day 3 of summer to sell off our soybean, so we're only 5 days away. 4 after today, and this one's almost done. So yeah, we're getting closer and closer to a big cash injection. And I think because this is our last year, and this is probably going to be our last farm, well, I'm almost certain it's going to be our last farm before FS19 comes out, I figure we'll go out with a bang. So we'll look to really bring in some really big bits of equipment that, you know, some of my favourite mods that we haven't used in a while. So we'll start making inquiries into getting a big M on the farm. We'll look at maybe getting some of the black sheep trailers, you know, the 70,000 litre set that we haven't used in the past. Well, we have used in the past, but haven't used for a very long time. We might look at maybe bringing some of those on, like the big bale trailers as well. We won't bother with the log trailer because we're not going to do any logging, but just some of that really big equipment that I have used in the past but haven't used for quite some time, and we'll dig out some of the old mods, some of my favourite mods, kind of like a farewell tribute to Farming Sim 17 as the year goes on. Ready for when 19 comes out in, let's see, about a month. Yeah, we're only a few weeks away now. So, yeah, I think that's what we'll do. First off will be a big M. We'll get a big M in. I'm trying to think what else we could add in. Maybe we could add in a big bud as well. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see. We'll do, like I say, we'll start bringing in some of the some big equipment just to help finish off the year, and as I say, do a kind of a farewell tour of some of my favourite bits of equipment and mods, seeing as this will be our last farm before 19 comes out. We are, as I say, about 4 weeks away from 19 coming out, and then I don't know if I plan to do any of this in the background. I think we may just concentrate purely on 19. I'll still have 17, and I may still play a bit in my off time, just so I can keep the seasons thing going for myself. It depends how quickly we get seasons for Farming Sim 19, because I'm almost certain we're going to get that mod. It's just a question of how long we're going to have to wait for it. I don't think it's going to be, well, I know it's not going to be part of the base game. I'm pretty certain it's not going to be a day one release in terms of mods. Hopefully we won't have to wait too long for it to be available, but well, you never know. I mean, Giants may throw a curveball. They may surprise us and just sneak something out at the last second, or may add it into the game at the last second. That would be awesome if they do that. I really think it is something that should be part of the base game, you know, going forward. Whether that's going to happen or not, I just don't know. But it would be nice. Just tidying up the last little bit of field 51 here. This is the first of our 2 sunflower fields. It's not a huge amount that needs to be done. Do that with a nice judicious little sweep of the boom, like that. Just missed a tiny bit on the corner. Done. Now we need to turn our attention to field 48. This is a bigger field. It's going to require a little bit more work. You can see we have a little bit of an overlap, so we're going to have to double spray just a little bit of this crop, unfortunately, as we make our way down here. So we'll keep a nice simple premise. We'll run up and down this section here, up towards the shed area, get all this done, and then we'll do the bit that goes down the slope there, down the hill. We'll get all that stuff done, and we'll probably have to manually spray that section there, but the worker can take care of most of this part of the field for us. So I will catch up with you in a little while when we need to get a bit more hands-on. Okay, so a big chunk of this field is now done. We're on to the more tricky bit. We'll start in this section over here. Try and get lined up quite nicely, there we go. Lovely sunset starting to happen there in the distance. We'll get some really quite bright orange skies pretty soon. kind of nice that as we're moving into late spring and early summer, that it's happening later and later in the day again. It's giving us time to really get a lot of jobs done before we lose the light. It's not that long ago then that it would have been pitch black at this time of night, but now it's not even 8 o'clock yet. The sun is just starting to just disappear over the hills there. But as I say, just a few days ago it would have been dark at this time, and you go back to, you know, sort of late winter and it would be pitch black still at this time. Even possibly the first day of spring, I think it would have been dark at this point. Nice little spin just along there. Get this bottom section done. Lower the boom down a little bit. There we go. Really am pleased with the choice of this sprayer. I think it was the right one to go for. I did toy with the idea of maybe getting a big brute, but I just felt it would be a little out of place. It is a cracking mod though. I do like the big brute. Big tank as well. It's got what, over 6,000 litres. I think that has 6,400, maybe even a touch more than that. It's a very big spraying tank indeed. Pretty pokey vehicle as well. Goes over, I think, over 40 miles an hour. Well, this is no slouch. This will do 39, and has a pretty good sized tank as well. Yeah, that's that bit done. Now we'll do another lap. Now we're starting to see that sort of yellow-orange colour start to appear in the sky there. I wonder if we'll get a full orange sunset before we finish this field. We're not too far off. I think we'll probably be done here, but you can start to see the glow on the field, where it's changing the way the field looks. That orange light is starting to bathe across the farm here. Probably my most favourite time of day is seeing that sort of orange glow when it's just peaking like this, just starting to appear. In terms of the lighting effect, it just gives this great lighting effect. And there we go, we are done. That is it. So, we'll pack up for the day. Look at that, that's a great light. Love that lighting effect. So yeah, we'll get everything packed up for the day, and then tomorrow we'll continue with our spraying. So we'll spray off our wheat field here, our other wheat field over there, field 45, and our barley field, which will be field 30/35. We'll get those 3 fields sprayed. And then all that remains, you can see our weeder is just finishing off over there. I actually got him working on the other side, so he's only got 1 or 2 passes left to do. It might possibly even be on his last pass now. We'll have to wait until first day of summer to start spraying our corn. As I say, I want there to be a day's growth before we start doing that, but we can certainly get our wheat and barley done. That might put the wheat and barley at stage 3 as well. Let's just take a quick double check. of our spraying cycles. So yeah, you can see just like one pass maybe remaining on the weeding there. We've just sprayed these 2 fields, so we'll have to spray them one more time. We'll spray this field here, and we don't need to spray 30 and 35, that's already done. So we've only got 2 fields to spray tomorrow. So we'll be doing some mowing here, and stocking up our food supplies for the sheep and possibly even the cows a little bit tomorrow. And beyond that, I don't think we're going to have a lot to do. So tomorrow we'll probably be trying to get some of that new equipment into the farm, and hopefully, yeah, we'll be able to get a few bits in here and there. So that's it from me. Thanks for watching. I am Jim Bob, and I'll be back with some more Lone Oak Farm very soon.